Cut to, now I'm back in the story. I win the NYU Film Festival, and I graduate. And I go and I see my professor. Two of the most valuable lessons in my life he gave me. And what happened was, I go to him and I say, there's an opportunity. I met a producer. I met one guy in Hollywood the whole time I was at film school. Now, every director, big producer goes to film schools and talks and gives lectures, and you know, people have access now, right? Especially with the internet. I remember the only director. It wasn't Billy Wilder. It was who was it? It was the guy who directed West Side Story. I mean, the guy was like 100 years old. I was trying to ask all the questions. It was like I didn't have access to anybody. And I said, I met this guy Brian Grazer, who's like the biggest producer in Hollywood, and he called me when he heard I was graduating. He wants me to come out to LA. I think he's going to offer me a job. I mean, I was delusional. I mean, he's not going to ask me to direct something, but I think he's going to offer me a job. And he says, Brett, let me tell you something. This is my professor, the guy that. He says, under no circumstances are you to take a job from him. I said, what? What is wrong with you? You're so negative. I say, any kid in this entire school, I don't care who their parents are, would die to work for Brian Grazer. He was making, what was the fire movie that he did with Ron Howard? Backdraft. He was doing Backdraft at the time. I mean, he was making like 5 movies at the time. He was
Russell,
yeah, I mean, he was huge. Him and Ron Howard. And I'm like, how can you tell me not to take that job? He goes, I'm telling you, I command you, do not take that job from him. I'm like, why? Why are you saying that? He goes, you will be fired. I said, why? He goes, you're not meant to be someone's assistant. I said, what? You're a director. So what? What do you want me to do? Where do you want me to work? How do you want me to be a director? Make a film, Brett. What are you thinking? Oh, make a film. Okay. Don't work for anybody. I don't care who it is. You're going to get fired. He knew me. He knew I had ADD. He knew I wasn't focused except on telling stories. So I go see Brian. I fly out to LA. I remember in his office in Beverly Hills, the coat from Backdraft was on the door with the hat. Like it was on the back door. I come and he goes, Brett, man, I like you so much. I do. I think you're so smart. And I know you went to film school. And I'm thinking, okay, he's going to give me an opportunity to direct an episode of television or something. He goes, I want to teach you the business. I'm going to train you, and you're going to become the biggest producer in Hollywood. I said, oh, well, thank you. And I want to interrupt him, but I let him talk. And he goes, you're going to be my assistant. And I just kind of like looked at him, trying to keep my smile. He says, I'm going to pay you $21,000 a year. And that was a lot of money for me, $21,000 a year. I said, wow. I said, like, I'm really appreciative. I'm really grateful. But I'm a director. He's like, okay, I'm going to pay you $22,000 a year. I said, no, you don't understand. I'm like Opie. I'm like Ron Howard. I'm like your partner. I'm a film director. Like, I'm going to pay you $23,000 a year. I think I got him up to like $29,000 because I kept telling him, no, you don't understand. I'm not an assistant. I'm a director. And also, what? My professor told me to not take the job. Said, do not take that job under any. So I went in there knowing I wasn't going to take it, but I wanted to hear what he had to say. And he said, okay. And it wasn't until recently when we did Tower Heist together that I noticed that he has a button under his door, under his table, that calls in the assistant. And the assistant comes and goes, Brian, your next meeting. And so it was like 7 minutes in. It was like the meeting was over. She was like, Brian, I said, okay, Brett, well, great seeing you. That was it. That was my chance. And it was gone, like right there. And as I go to the door, I think there's another button that just slams the door. And I stop it. And I know, okay, if you pitch somebody, you got to do it in one line. I said, my friend has an idea to do a black version of The Nutty Professor. He's like, oh, come on in. And I take a step and I watch what a producer did in front of my eyes. He said, who made that movie? I said, Jerry Lewis. He said, get me Jerry Lewis on the phone. As easy as that. Jerry, Brian Grazer. Oh, hey, Brian. I'd love to get the rights. You own the rights? Yeah, I own the rights to all my movies. All right, can we send over a proposal? Sure. Thanks, Brett. I got zero. And I was like, no, I didn't know what to ask for. I didn't know, but it was like I gave him the idea, right? It wasn't that he was trying to stiff me. It was just like, okay, I said it was my friend's idea anyway. By the time they're making Nutty Professor 2, he's asking me to direct the movie. That's how fast my rise. So now the second story lesson that this mentor of mine gave me. I get my first movie. I'm directing music video. And I do a music video for Heavy D. And I was watching, I grew up going to the Def Comedy Jams, the comedy specials. And I would kind of scout kind of for them on this, not scout, I wasn't being paid to scout, but I would tell them who I thought was talented. I saw Chris Tucker doing stand-up. And I thought he was brilliant. And I went up to him, and he hasn't been on the show. He'd never been filmed before. I said, Chris, I'm Brett Ratner. I'm a film student, but I direct music videos. I'd love you to be in my music videos. How much you gonna pay me? I said, I got $500. He goes, man, I need $1,000. I can't do it without $1,000. I go, I only have $500, but you could keep the wardrobe. He goes, all right, I'll do it. I love Heavy D. He comes and does the video. The video is the biggest video on MTV. Okay, huge. It got me like 5. If I would do a good video, do a good job, a good film, it would get me more work, right? You do good.
It's good with social media today. Get you like 10 million views went viral.
Yeah. All of a sudden, I start getting paid. I start making money. I really wasn't making money doing music videos. I start really making money. And 3 months later, and it's a valuable lesson, I think, for everybody out there, I wrote a check for the other $500 and I mailed it to Chris. He never called me and thanked me, but back in the day, you would get your checks in the mail returned, and it said $500 back. And he must have got it when he really needed it. He goes and does Friday. He gets paid $15,000 to star in Friday. Then he does Dead Presidents. He got $25,000 with the Hughes brothers. And then New Line Cinema, Mike DeLuca, who ran the studio at the time, young head of the studio, buys a script called Money Talks for Chris Tucker to star in, and Charlie Sheen. The director, they hired this big commercial director, I don't remember his name, and he goes in to complain to the head of the studio, to Mike DeLuca, that Chris Tucker won't pay attention and listen to him, that he wants to improvise. He doesn't want to say the words on the page. Now, the head of this, Mike DeLuca, says to him,
I bought the thing for the guy.
but if the actor is not listening to you, then you have no right being the director. So you're fired. Because if the actor and director don't work together, that's not going to work, right? And he wants to fire him. He goes, let's go get another black guy to just play the part. He goes, you're fired. Calls in Chris Tucker. This is a week before the movie starts. And he says, Chris, what are we going to do? I just fired the guy. He goes, yeah, man, he wasn't good. He wasn't listening to me. He didn't want to, Chris, they bought it for him, right? And they go, well, what are we going to do? Every week that we don't film, we're going to lose $1 million. He goes, I remember this cool white boy, Brett Ratner. He never forgot me. He must have got that check when he really needed it. And I'm not saying you have to send a check as gratitude to somebody, but you send him a note. You write him, you thank the person who helped you get to where you wanted to go.
Right.
Showing that gratitude and appreciation came back to me 100 million times over. Me sending him that $500, he never forgot me. He brought me in. They hired me. I directed my first movie, and that was with Chris Tucker and Charlie Sheen, Money Talks, which I think is funnier than Rush Hour. And then so I'm on the set of, this is the end of it. I'm on the set of Money Talks, okay? I only had a week to prep the movie. You usually have 12 weeks minimum to prep a movie. So I can only prep the scene for that week. And then I had on the weekends work to prep the next. So I said, okay, how am I going to do this? Because the movie has to make sense. I know the script makes sense. But if I treat each scene like a mini movie and have a beginning, middle, and end, because usually if you have time, you can build in transitions. You know, you could really sew the movie together in a way that is really seamless. Because how many times you've seen a movie where you feel like you're watching two different movies?
Yeah.
Constantly, right? But
Traffic.
Tone is everything. Wolf of Wall Street is a perfect film because tone-wise, from the first frame to the end, you're watching the same movie.
Right.
Marty's a master, and he knows how to do that. And that's where a film that doesn't work is when the tone is off. So I said, how do I keep the tone consistent? And this is how I did it. First day of shooting. Now, now they were firing directors halfway through the movie, but you know, the DGA is less lenient. But back then, it was very hard to fire a director off a movie. Very difficult, except in the first week. If the studio saw your dailies, didn't like, especially first-time director, saw your dailies, didn't like the work, they could just fire you. So the first week was crucial. Imagine, I'm on my first movie set. I'm 26 years old, okay? I'm on my first movie set. There's 500 people on set, 200 crew, 300 extras, helicopters. It was at the LA Coliseum. It was a split day. It was a night. We only had like 8 hours of darkness, okay? So we were prepping for half the day, rigging it, putting the equipment, bringing everything in. And my first shot was going to start when it got dark until sunrise. And half an hour before we're about to shoot, my AD, who's twice my age, comes to me. This guy, Jamie, great guy, says, we have a problem. What? Chris Tucker and Charlie Sheen want to talk to you. So why is that a problem? He goes, well, they don't want to come here. I told them that you're getting ready for the shot in 30 minutes. They want you to go to their trailer. I'm like, oh, shit. I have to get in a car, drive to the trailer. You know, it's like a whole mishigas. It was like a difficult thing to get there, and I had to get back in time in 30 minutes to do the first shot with everybody hair and ready. Oh, and they hadn't been in hair and makeup yet because they had to. So we're already running behind on the first day. So it's my responsibility, right? So I get to the trailer, I knock on the door. They let me in. They're sitting there. They don't look happy. They say, we got a problem. I said, what? And you won't believe what they say to me. They go, this scene isn't funny. And at that moment,
Film school.
I go back to when my professor tells me, this was not funny. And I had a meltdown. I was like, fuck you. You're the worst professor. How can you do this to me? I got to shoot in 6 hours. And I literally I got chills. I was like, oh my God, this was what the lesson was. He prepared me for this moment. Now, my instinct was to be like, shit, we have a problem. I got to go get the producer. And, you know, they got to force you to come out, even if it's not funny. We just got to shoot it. Because I can improvise. They're like, this isn't working. And if I did that, they would have lost respect for me and the whole movie would have been a disaster. But you know what I said? All right, hold on. They go, what are you doing? I go, hold on. I lock the door so nobody can come in. I get the script, get a pen. I go, let's go. Read the scene. We spent the next 2 hours rewriting the scene every 10 minutes. Guys, what's going on in here? We're going to have to call this. You guys got to come out of the trailer. This is getting serious. It was like a mutiny. The first 2 hours, the director and the 2 stars will not come out of the trailer on the first day of my first movie. We finished the scene. It was funny as shit. We get out. They're like, what the fuck is going on? I go, let's just go. Let's go. I did the scene. I made my night. I made the schedule. Everyone got nervous for a second. I said, guys, the scene wasn't working. We had to work on it. They understood. But it was like, and from that moment on, Chris and Charlie knew I had their back, right. Gave them props, respect. And that's what I was talking about, these lessons. This professor, I thought he was picking on me. I thought he hated me. I thought he was like, why are you telling me to turn down this fucking... If I wouldn't have turned down the job, I would have probably become a director, but my path would have been... Right. Maybe I would have became a producer. Because I got seduced by seeing Brian becoming a producer. But I was like, no, I stayed on my path.